Hey guys, Marsegid here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are going to be taking a look at the new free-to-play Prince Vegeta, the youth version, that's available from the now revamped Lone Warrior Last Stand Bardock DB Story event. Even if you don't really care about farming up the character, it's definitely worth going through and redoing that event. Obviously, when these story events get revamped into a DB story, everything gets reset. So it's like 10 stages with the 2 difficulties. So by beating them on the Z hard, it obviously counts as clearing both. So you get like 20 stones just for going through it. There's a couple of stones for actually like getting the character up to SA10 and awakening him and stuff like that. So it's worth doing if for no other reason than just to get a few extra stones. But we are going to take a look at this guy. I've already seen some funny nicknames for this guy, like the French fry Vegeta, because yeah, I'm not sure what that is specifically that he's got there. But so yeah, this is Vegeta. I guess technically it's Vegeta brackets kid instead of youth or anything like that. I think I might have said junior before, which I didn't mean to say. But this guy is interesting that they even bothered to do this, really, when you think about back to before they actually revamped this event. It was just this random farmable SR that now has an awakening, but obviously it has to get a proper UR awakening. And then of course the TUR. The UR art is pretty cool, and then we have the TUR art as well. So we'll go ahead and check this guy out here. His super attack, he does at least have a decent super attack effect. He greatly raises attack and defense for 1 turn, does supreme damage and has a high chance to stun. So events where you can stun, obviously that will be quite useful. His base effects, 2 key, 200% attack and defense, and then when facing 2 or more enemies, he gets an extra 120% attack and defense and a 20% crit and dodge chance, and then gives space traveling warriors or gifted warriors allies attack and defense 20% for 2 turns. If you're facing 3 or more enemies, you get the attack and defense 130%, chance to perform a crit or dodge 30%, and then space traveling warriors or gifted warriors 30% support for 3 turns. So the interesting thing about this is, obviously, if you're fighting 3 enemies or more, both of those will proc, right? Because for the first one, you're fighting 2 or more enemies because you're fighting 3. And then the second one will proc as well. So he would get a ton of extra stats, 50% crit and dodge chance, and then 50% support. Part of it's for 2 turns, part of it's for 3 turns. Like, that would be kind of good. The problem is, and like the confusing thing about the design for this guy's awakening is, like, what fights do we actually have in the meta currently where you fight multiple enemies? Like, there aren't really any. The Union Masters that just came out event stage has like phases where you fight 2 enemies, but not even in all of them. But those are specific for certain categories, which obviously this Vegeta is not included with. At some point in the future, I imagine they'll bring out more stages for other categories, and this guy could end up being useful there. But like Super Battle Road, we got a new Super Battle Road stage come out today, but it's not a category that this guy is on, which is weird. Like, if the stage that came out today was a stage that he was on, then it would make sense, because like the first fight, I've already put up the video for that run, like the first fight had 4 enemies and the second fight had 3. So this guy would be perfect for that kind of thing. But there aren't really many fights really that have that many enemies at the moment. So it's a bit strange that so much of his passive is based around that condition, right? So he also has, when there's another ally whose name includes Vegeta in the same turn, he gets an extra 200% defense and an extra 20% dodge when receiving an attack. If there are no allies whose name includes Vegeta in the turn, then he gets an extra 200% attack and a 20% crit chance. So he's more attack focused if there's no other Vegetas, and then more defense focused if there is. And then when attacking with 12 or more key, he gets 200% attack and defense and launches 2 additional attacks, each of which has a high chance to become a super. So that's good, because obviously 2 extra chances to do supers, which greatly raise attack and defense, and at least they're not locked behind the multiple enemies. But a lot of stats are locked behind facing multiple enemies. So I've put him on this team with the AGL 10-year Vegeta, because obviously he gives him a 200% lead, because all the Vegetas are on successors and gifted warriors. So he will be getting the full 220 lead here. We've got the support from the Xeno Vegeta as well. So we can see this guy has 183k defense start of turn. Bear in mind, we've still got 2 enemies left alive. He wasn't on turn 1, so unfortunately we did end up killing the Goten in the first turn. But like, That's 180k start of turn defense. That's with him getting the extra 120% because there are 2 enemies. So in a stage where there's only 1 enemy, that defense is going to be significantly lower, which is not good. So let's go ahead and do this. We'll attack Videl with the gods so we can see Kid Vegeta attack here. We've got the support from the the Xeno Vegeta as well. So we are getting a decent bit of support on this turn. We've got the 4 links active. Now, as you can see, this guy isn't full link level 10. It took quite a while to farm him up because you need to farm up the extra copies and awaken them 1 stage so that you can then do the hidden potential, because the card is originally a farmable SR, which means he awakens into an SSR and therefore doesn't have hidden potential. So you've got to awaken your main one again, and then awaken 4 spare copies, feed them in, and then awaken your main one up to the TUR. I'd already awakened mine up to the TUR, so I just had to reverse him by 1 step. So don't worry if you hadn't done that first, you can just do that. But yeah, that took a while, because obviously each of the extra copies that you need to feed in, they then each need 10 medals from the stage. So you need to farm up an extra 40, so you need 50 medals in total, because you've got to awaken your main one and then the 4 extra ones in order to feed them in. And so, to be perfectly honest, looking at his details on paper, like, I want to do the showcase here to show you guys and just see what he's going to be like, but I can't really imagine him being particularly great or a unit that I'm going to use particularly often. So I wasn't going to waste my link skill orbs, like link leveling him or anything straight away here. I mean, his super attack animation is not bad, but 6.9 million and then the additional going to 7.5. I mean, for a free-to-play unit, I suppose it's not terrible. And he greatly raised his defense twice. So, what was he at, like 180 start of turn? So he'd be at like 350, 360. Actually, no, he gets 100 and... Is it 120 or 200% when attacking? 200% when attacking. I guess that's not bad because it's on attack. So if he was at 180 start of turn, he would then be getting 360 when he attacks, plus the super attack stuff as well. So he could be up at around, even up to like 700k defense, but obviously, as we know very much so in the meta currently, like 700k defense even post super, I mean, that's getting you killed by like some of the tough bosses. Even like normal attacks, this guy's going to get absolutely rocked. So in terms of like what this guy is actually potentially useful for, like I say, Super Battle Road, I guess any future stages that come out that he is on the categories for, like he could be useful for that with the big extra stats and like the stun and everything. And obviously he is supporting Gifted Warriors as well, so like on a Gifted Warriors sort of team with other Vegeta units and stuff like that, he would be providing a fairly decent bit of support. But then, that being said, even the minimum support, which is the 20% for 2 turns, that's if there are 2 or more enemies. So the way you have to look at it is that if you're fighting only 1 enemy, his passive is literally just key 2, attack and defense 200%, and then the Vegeta or no Vegeta buff, and then 200% on attack, attack and defense, and 2 additional attacks, right? So if you've got no Vegeta on the road, which we did have a Vegeta on the rotation last time, he was also getting 200% extra defense on that rotation, because we had the Goku and Vegeta, like the gods, and we had Xeno Vegeta. So that's him with an extra 200% defense buff on top of everything else as well. So I mean, we'll see here, now that we move on to the next phase, and we only have 1 enemy, what are we going to be looking like here? So 172k start of turn. So I guess he didn't get a huge buff. That's interesting to think that he's got... okay, it's gone down now because I guess the Vegeta gives support. But 157 compared to last turn 180 something. So that extra 120% for there being 2 enemies was really only giving him like 30k defense, which isn't really a huge amount. Like, that's not a great setup for him. So we'll go ahead and do this. We'll do this. I mean, the thing is here, even in this event, like if this Gohan supers the Vegeta here, he probably dies. I know this event is not particularly hard hitting. I only wanted to jump into this because it's one of the ones where you are fighting multiple enemies in the first turn. But of course, with it being limited attempts, I jumped in like multiple times and couldn't get a run where Kid Vegeta was on the first turn. because obviously that's where we would see the highest number for him when there's 3 or more enemies. Because like I say, it should be both of those procs go off at the same time, right? So 6.2 million again. Obviously, if you get really good RNG, you could get the turn where he just does like 3 supers. But even then, like his defense at most is going to be pushing to like 700k. We got the additional from the hidden potential, which is good. So he could technically get 4 supers in one turn. But I built mine literally for just everything dodge, and then the other nodes that were like crit or additional, I just gave him additional. Because of course, if he does get that extra super and get another greatly raised defense, then that would be good. And like we said, in events where you actually can stun the enemy, any additional supers are an extra chance to stun if the previous attempts failed. So there is that, I guess, which is another thing that's useful for something like Super Battle Road. But it just seems weird now that Super Battle Road is such an outdated event and like stages drop so infrequently. Bringing out a character who seems like they're kind of designed around Super Battle Road just seems really odd. Especially because like Gifted Warriors has already had a stage. I think Space Traveling Warriors has already had its ESBR stage as well. So like the 2 major stages that this guy is on the teams for and supports already have their stages. I guess he is on mission execution, but that'll be a stage that we don't see for quite a long time. Same with Successors. I think all the other ones have already had their ESBR stages. So he's not even useful for that really, because like those stages have already been and gone. Like obviously if you're a newer player and you still need to complete a bunch of the older phases, then he could potentially be useful for that. But it's one of those things that I have to think about when we talk about these free-to-play units especially. A lot of people always say like a bit too critical, like don't set your standard too high because they are just free-to-play units. But at the same time, you also have to remember, I know big celebrations, they do kind of pull out the stops a little bit more, but we're coming off the back of the Global Dokkan campaign, where we got the Rosé clones, we got the Zamasu Goku, we got the LR Nova Shenron. Like, all the free-to-play units from that celebration were really, really good. And this character is such a random, like, niche character. Like, it's not going to break the game if a Kid Vegeta, like, free-to-play card, who's on, in terms of, like, meta teams, like, what teams is he even really on? Like, his actual 200% leaders is just this guy, because he gets the 200% only for the HP, but not for the actual, like, plus 50, for, like, the Tech Goku from the 10 year, and then, like, the Gohan, Goten, and Trunks, because they lead youth, but they're plus 50% categories he's not on. So, like, he's not on that many teams, so if he was, like, really, really good, it's not going to be massively game-breaking in any way, shape, or form, because realistically, he's not going to be going on a bunch of crazy top-tier teams and absolutely crushing the game. Like, a kind of team like this, where he just sort of has the opportunity to be on the team, give a little bit of support to like the Vegetas and stuff like that. I guess technically, no, this unit is still just called Goku plus Vegeta, so yeah, he still gets the buff for there being a unit whose name's Vegeta on the rotation, even though we're exchanged into the Goku part of the card. But you get the support there from the Gogeta, although I do think that Goku probably finishes him off here, even though we are only stacking our defense, just because again it's obviously not the toughest event that we could be taking on. But like, imagine taking this guy into any of the like GDC content, where post super attack at best he's looking at like 700k defense. Normal attacks from some of these new events that we've got are going to be like doing 300-400k damage to him, which is just way too much for the current meta. And like I said, I don't really know the thought process behind his design when we don't have any real Super Battle Road stages that he's going to be super useful in. Also, the fact that he gives support to Space Traveling Warriors or Gifted Warriors. Like, Space Traveling Warriors, even though he's an extreme unit, he's not going to mesh very well with a bunch of the Space Traveling Warriors that are either like Wicked Bloodline units or characters like Bojack and stuff like that, because obviously he doesn't have big bad bosses. Gifted Warriors, at least on teams with other Vegetas, I guess that would be cool for the support and everything, but man, I just like, it just kind of comes along, I feel like, another one of these free-to-play units where they didn't really put a huge amount of thought into what his role is supposed to be, right? Because, like, even again, as a newer player, I'm not sure where I would recommend that you use this guy, right? Because especially with how good that clone team is from the Global Dokkan campaign, if you're a free-to-play player, like, that's what you want to be doing, is farming up, like, the Rose clone team. And even still, like, the Ginyu Force team and the Bardock squad and stuff like that. But, like, yeah, this guy, I just don't really see where he's going to be particularly useful. I mean, we might get an event come out soon where there are more phases with like multiple enemies and status effects. Like I say, that Union Master event, we had what, Hybrid Saiyans and Fused Fighters as the 2 stages that came out so far. So if we get a Pure Saiyans one, or we get like a Vegeta family one and a Goku family one and something like that, then this guy could potentially have some use there. But then realistically, like, the last fights of those events were then still against one single enemy who could hit relatively hard, which means that this Vegeta just wouldn't be good in that scenario either. So it's a little bit unfortunate. Yeah, we're at 176k defense on this turn with the support. We've got quite a lot of links active here, which is good. So let's go ahead and we could just Ghost Usher with Goku here, just to make sure we're not going to be taking like big damage or anything, just in case Goku like doesn't dodge a super in slot 1 or something. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll get these for you, and this for you, and we'll probably leave it here after this, because obviously the rest of the event's just going to be continually against one enemy anyway. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. It's just one of those things. I don't think he's like complete, you know, utter trash, like garbage, but he just doesn't really have a major use anywhere. And I feel like even if you are a newer player, there's not really a slot on any of the kind of teams I would expect people to be running. Like, I mean, if you joined, even if you started during the Global Dokkan campaign, you should have the Clones team, at least. And, of course, the Zamasu Goku, who you could use as the leader. Like, this guy doesn't really, like, fit on that team. So I'm trying to think of what kind of low-level, like, free-to-play team he would even be on, because Pure Saiyans doesn't really have, like, a great sort of, like, farmable free team. There is, of course, I forget as well, like, the tutorial team with the version Z Goku, and he is an all-types leader, but he also gives, I think he gives extra to Saiyan Saga, so this guy just doesn't really fit in very well there either. So, I don't know, let me know what you guys think. Like I say, I don't think he's completely awful, but I just don't really see a lot of use for him at the moment. At least they haven't done the thing where they like awakened him and Easy Aid him at the same time. So that means he does have some future potential with getting an Easy A and being a little bit better. But Easy A's normally expand on the stuff that the card already does. So being lumbered down with these, like, a lot of the big parts of his passive being restricted to fighting multiple enemies, I think is just always going to be an issue for this card. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.